Yes, Bill should be here. Bill Yeargin, where are you? Good morning, everybody. Thank you for getting up early with us. Great to see everybody. I know they were all going to filter in. I know yesterday was a long day. I'm here with Mary Valine, who is the director of IBEX, and we're really, really happy to see all of you. It's such an amazing marine community, and we've been planning for 2 years to bring this to you, so I'm really, really pleased. So 2.5 hours. We have 5 35-minute sessions. You've got some of the best visionary leaders in the industry that are going to get on stage. We are not going to have a lot of time for questions because it is so short each session. The speakers will be out in the sensory lounge after each session, so I would say catch them in the lounge. And if you really have a pressing question, you can email me at michelle.goldsmith@Firecrown, and it's Michelle with 1 L, and I will get your question directly to the speaker. So I would like to say thank you to IBEX for partnering with us on this event. There were a million little details that we hope that you don't notice that they were a million little details. This is loosely based on an event that I go to in New York, and thank you to Zach Hutchinson and Bill for coming with me this year. So our intention today is to inspire you, that you learn something new, and that you walk away with practical information that you can bring back to your companies and your brands. There's also a Post-it wall or a Post-it note wall that's outside. So if you have aha moments, if there's something you want to tell us about the program, there are markers, there's Post-it notes, just tell us there. And speaking of opinions, at the end of the program, at the end of round 2, you will see a QR code come up at the end of the video. Please scan it. That is a quick multi-choice survey for you to take. Your feedback is invaluable as we build this event and as we plan future events. So it's also important that we thank all of our sponsors. So our title sponsor is celebrating their 100th anniversary, and that is Correct Craft. Our title sensory sponsor is Sharrow Marine, and we're grateful to them. And our other sponsors who you will meet because their leaders are on all of our panels is West Marine, Ray Marine, Garmin, Lippert, Winnebago Industries, Canberra, and Harman, who are actually out in the sensory lounge. So thank you to them. Thank you to all the exceptional leaders that are on stage. And I'm going to hand it off to Mary.
Well, and she's covered everything. We're going to get right into it. But thank you so much to Michelle and her team, for all of you for being here, and for the incredible lineup of speakers who are giving us your time. We really appreciate it. So with that, we'd like to invite our keynote and our kickoff, Bill Yeargin, and here right onto the stage, talk about lessons from a CEO, impactful leadership. So we'll get it going, and then I will come up afterwards and help you decide where you'd like to go after this.
There will be 2 rooms running side by side. Mary will tell you what's in each room.
Yeah, after this first session. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. They didn't tell me about this in middle school speech class. This is far more people than they had my note cards with. But my music teacher in 3rd grade, Mrs. Reardon, sent a note home one evening to my dad, and it said, Gary has a wonderful voice and is a good musician, but he's got a big mouth. So hopefully I won't screw it up, because I have a lot of respect for our guest, Bill Yeargin, the president and CEO of Correct Craft. Let me tell you a little bit about Bill. Bill's a thought leader, and I've enjoyed working with him for 4 years now at Soundings Trade Only. He does a column for us every month, and every time we get one, I'm excited to read it because there are some really good insights in there that you wouldn't normally think about. He's a board member, global traveler, 110 countries, he tells me, innovator and cultural evangelist. He's authored 6 books, including Education of the CEO and Faith Lead. Bill has shared leadership insights in innumerable articles and columns over 3 decades and has been a popular speaker at hundreds of events on 6 continents. His company is a 100-year-old company with global operations. Correct Craft's subsidiaries include multiple boat brands, engines, water sport parts, and entities devoted solely to vertical integration and innovation. The company has manufacturing facilities across the US and distributes to approximately 70 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Bill Yeargin to Mix 2025. So Bill, we've worked together for, I guess, about 4 years now. And like I said, I've always enjoyed the thoughtfulness of the leadership advice that you give that can range anywhere from a small dealership that sells 6 or 10 boats a year to someone in a major corporation. I'm going to do an easy question first. What would you tell somebody who doesn't know anything about Craft and its brands?
We're a recreational marine holding company. We've got 48 entities within Craft, not all operating entities. And I believe we have some of the top brands in the industry. We have several boat brands, but we're also vertically integrated. We have 2 engine companies. We have a wiring harness company. We have a telematics company, tooling and milling company. So we're broad ranged across the industry and very focused on outstanding product and great customer service.
Nice. I was surprised to see, I think some people here might not know that Craft owns a water sports park. They might not know that you guys have a consumer-focused app called Osmosis. Can you talk about how across all of your brands that range anything from wake sport boats to center consoles, how does that help with vertical integration, having all these different entities?
As many entities as we can control in the customer experience and the supply chain, the better from our perspective. And we've done a number of acquisitions from our engine companies or wiring harness companies. As you said, we have a telematics company that provides telematics to our product. Probably the company that people are most surprised of is the water sports park. We have a water sports park in Orlando. It's called Orlando Water Sports Complex. And I don't think you know this, Gary, but as a gift for being here today, if you want to go, you can go as our guest. Just let me know, reach out to us. And anybody that's here today can go as our guest. Bring your kids, grandkids. We'd love for you to go. It's in Orlando, and it's a blast. I love going out there on Saturday morning and wakeboarding. And we've got an aqua park. We've got a boat there. And it's just a real fun experience. But I've spoken to many people over the years who have come into the water park and ended up buying a boat, because they had a great experience and they had a fun time, and our team did a really good job taking care of them. And so, in fact, I ran into one guy that claimed he's bought like 9 boats, 9 of our Nautique brand, and he said it started out like 15 years ago. They were at Disney, and they were at Disney for 7 days, and they just wanted to get away for a day, and so they came to the water sports park and loved wakeboarding and ended up buying a bunch of boats. So we tried to, as many places in the supply chain and the customer experience as possible. If we can be part of that, it helps us provide better customer product and experiences.
So it sounds like the water sports park is, I hate to use the word gateway drug, but that's a way to get to get your customers interested in your product. So as far as connecting people and giving them those experiences to encourage them to get into the boating lifestyle, it sounds like it's a really great tool for that.
Yes, it is. And we've learned as an industry that the single best way to develop boat buyers is to have them have a great experience at a young age. And people that buy boats in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are people that as a kid or as a young adult had a great experience on the water. And so we're trying to do that. And we're trying to give people great experiences so that they're interested in expanding that, maybe getting into a boat of their own.
Do you have any, obviously you've got a huge mix of different boat types. I think you guys are best known for, water sports boats. With some of the new acquisitions that you made, do you have any, there's not a water sports park for center console boats or, things. Do you have any sort of programs that you use to encourage getting into other brands of that sort?
We have a lot of events, with fishing events or events to bring kids out, bass fishing, or we have a number of different events, but it's sort of hard to create a water sports park, for offshore fishing or bass fishing or wildlife fishing. But we do all we can to try to have events to encourage, kids and young people to get involved.
So Craft is a very healthy company today, but when you got there, I kind of was thinking about it the other night, and it's almost like when Steve Jobs came back to Apple. I think Craft, correct me if I'm wrong, was in pretty deep trouble when you got there. And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the recovery and some of the steps that you took to kind of right the ship.
I'm happy to do that, but before I do that, I think it's really important to know that I can tell the story, and I get to tell the story as CEO, but it was a team effort. I feel like of our nearly 2,000 employees, I'm like the least qualified person. I'm the least talented person on our team. So, but when I got there in 2006, I was the 5th CEO in 5 years. And the company was transitioning from family management to professional management, and it wasn't going good. Just a lot of change. And really the issue wasn't with the CEOs, because there were some good folks in that group. The issue was with governance and ownership. And just a lot of family fighting and just a lot of challenges at the ownership level. So when I got there, the company had just moved into a new facility. The guy who'd run production for 30 years had just had a heart attack and died. It was a real mess. So one of the things, the turning point for us, and there was all kinds of things. We could talk about this for hours, Gary, and I think we only have 2 hours for this session, right?
5 hours, 5 hours actually.
So the turning point, though, the turning point for us was a service trip that we did to Tecate, Mexico in 2007. Because I was working hard. I was coming in at 7 in the morning, working till 9 at night. I was trying to tell everybody we're going to turn this around. We're going to do great things. We're going to use our platform for good. But in 2007, I went with 25 employees down to Tecate, Mexico, and we built a house for a homeless family. Everybody thought it was a bad idea. I mean, I had board members, I had owners, I had everybody saying, "What are you doing? The ship is sinking. Why are you going to take 25 employees to Tecate, Mexico and build a house?" But we needed a dramatic culture shift. So we went, and I was saying we're going to use our platform for good, but nobody was even expecting me to be there very long, much less actually implement what I was saying. So, it went to Tecate, Mexico. It was really, really difficult time. It was Mexico in July. I don't know what I was thinking, but the temperature every day was about 110 degrees. We're sleeping basically on the desert floor. We're taking showers by taking lake water, pouring it over, soaping up, taking lake water, rinsing off. You don't want to know about the bathroom situation. The house we were building was over like the city sewage collection area, so it was tough to breathe. So it was a really challenging few days to build a house. But we did it. We gave the keys to the family. It was a family of 5 that we'd gotten to know while we were there. This is a homeless family. They were living on the streets. Gave the keys. And when I say a house, it wasn't much bigger than this stage, but it was 3 rooms, and the family thought we'd given them a mansion. So we got back to San Diego, and this was a very difficult few days. Got back to San Diego, and the 25 of us were sitting in the room, and I asked everybody, I said, "Hey, tell me about your experience. What did you think about these last few days?" And Gary, they said things like, "That was the best few days of my life." They said things like, "I can't wait to do something like that again. I can't wait to tell my kids. I've never done something so impactful." And that was the turning point for Craft. We were losing money. We were in a facility building boats. So we didn't know how to build. I mean, it was a mess. But that was the turning point, because now everybody rallied around the fact that we're going to use our platform for good, we're going to have an impact, and we're going to do some really cool things. Since then, I've taken employees to Cambodia, India, Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, all across the Caribbean, all across Central America, because we want to use our platform for good. And people want to be part of something inspiring, and they want to be part of something big. And I have employees tell me, "I don't know that I'll ever go on one of those service trips, but I just want you to know I love working for a company that cares and wants to use its platform for good." So anyway, that's a long answer, but that's the story, and that's the turning point. I wrote a whole book about this called Making Life Better. I'm not trying to sell books. We'll give you one if you want one, but that tells that whole story.
Nice. Well, if you fast forward to 2025, we've talked about this just through email. You guys are on track, or hoping to be on track to be $1 billion company this year. Can you give us a little update and tell us how Craft is doing today? Sure.
We were in 2009, admittedly a bad year, we were $39 million. In 2023, we hit our goal of becoming $1 billion, And now our goal is to become a $2 billion company. We have slipped a little bit below the billion just because of the market. Our biggest market, towboats, is down almost 50%, but we're still pretty close to it. And so our goal, we hit our $1 billion goal. We've set a new goal, $2 billion. And I'm stepping down as CEO next April. I'll be chair, so I'll still be involved on the periphery. But our team we got a great team, and I have no doubt that they're going to reach their $2 billion goal.
A little bit of shifting gears. Bill and I connect maybe once a month, only by email, and I still feel like I know him, and I still feel like we've got a little bit of a connection. The one thing that has always astonished me is I can send him an email in the afternoon and have an answer within an hour, which for somebody who's running, all of these brands seems pretty remarkable. So I thought folks would be interested to know whether you're doing board meetings or you're, giving interviews. How do you manage your time? What does a typical day in your life look like? I saw an interview with Tim Cook of Apple, and he talked about getting up early and what he does at each part of the day. How do you manage it all, and what does a typical day in your life look like?
Well, first of all, I don't want to remotely compare myself to Tim Cook of Apple, but one of the comments that I get most often is, "I can't believe how responsive you are." And because of that, I generally respond very quickly. But what people don't know is it's actually a mental instability, I think, because I can't stand to have open items in my inbox. So when I get something, and I think it's a time management tool, and something I learned some session years ago, 20, 30 years ago, said you never want to look at anything twice. So if I get the email and I open it, there's about a 95% chance I'm going to respond right there. I'm not going to leave it and think about it and come back. I'm just going to respond for better or worse. And so it's might be more of a mental imbalance than a responsiveness, but I just need to get, if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs, I'm a really high J, and I just need to get it done. So that's my secret.
Nice. Let's talk about acquisitions. There have been a lot of those in your tenure at Correct Craft. What is your approach to looking at a company and going, hey, this is a good match for Correct Craft, and this would be a good brand for us to bring in? What's the secret sauce there?
So we want to have great brands, in our company, and I believe we've done a lot of acquisitions the last 15 years. I believe we've brought in some really, really good brands. But the real key to our acquisition strategy is we're looking for sellers who care about the company the day after closing. There's a lot of people that are just they just want to get the highest possible dollar. They want to squeeze out the last dollar. And I respect that's their choice. It's their company. They can do with it what they want. But I tell people often, I say that you're going to, that extra, we're a strategic buyer, which means we don't have an exit strategy. Most of the time when you sell a company, a high percentage of the time, you're selling to somebody who's going to do everything they can to optimize it and sell it in 3 to 7 years, okay? Especially if it's a private equity deal. And so that's not us. When we buy a company, I'm not saying we never would sell, but we never have, and we're going to get through the end of my tenure without selling one. So, there's no plans to sell. So we have to buy right. Otherwise, we're just doing a disservice to the company. So I tell the sellers, I'll say, if you care about your brand, your legacy, and your employees, we'll commit to you that we're going to do everything we can to invest in all three of those. And we'll commit to you that we're going to, and I think we've got a track record of doing that. But if you're looking for the top dollar, we can't always do that. We pay a fair price. Believe me, we pay a fair price. We're not bottom fisher. We're going to pay a fair price. But some companies will come in and they'll overpay because they know they're going to go in and they're going to strip all the things the seller loves and try to flip the company in a few years. And so if you care about the future of your company, and then sometimes I'll say to them, that extra little bit of money that you're going to get, you're probably going to die with it. So it's not, you're going to die with it in the bank. So it's not going to change your life, but I tell you what will change your life. As a year after you sell the company, when you see it being destroyed or you see them doing really bad things that are impacting your employees, your brand, and your legacy, that's going to bother you a lot. So we we've bought great companies. We've got several opportunities we're looking at right now. We want to continue with acquisitions, but we want to make good, smart, strategic deals that we can commit to a lifetime. I mean, no, we want to build a company, we're not looking to flip something to sell it.
Interesting. One thing I wanted to ask you about, I've only had to do this twice in my career, and I don't have thousands of people working for me, is discovering, I think you used the term who, not how. And, sometimes you've got a member on your team that might be a wonderful person and actually might be a really hard worker, but they're not a good fit for the company. How do you go about making that decision and then with grace telling the person, hey, this just isn't working out? Because I think that would be valuable to a lot of leaders here if they have because I think some people probably just don't do it for the fear of having to actually make that decision. How do you tackle that?
It's super hard. You start with the mindset of what we call who, not how. That's not an original term. There's actually a book written by that name. If you like to read, I recommend it. Really, really good book, Who, Not How. And then you hire, really, really good people. My job as CEOs is to provide clarity on our mission, our vision, our why, our strategic plan, and our annual plan, our budget. If I can provide clarity on those 5 things and hire good people, my job gets really easy. But sometimes you make mistakes. The biggest mistake, Gary, that I've made consistently over my career, and I'm hoping to get to the end here without doing it again, is I have overvalued competency and not given enough value to character and chemistry. And so when we hire, we're looking for competency, character, and chemistry. So what I'll do is if I got a problem, I'll find somebody that can fix the problem. I'll think, wow, we need them on the team, and we'll hire them. I would never hire somebody who I knew had bad character or bad chemistry, but I can get captured by the competency, and by becoming captured by the competency, not pay enough attention to those, and then I end up needing to let them go, which is painful, really painful.
Very painful.
Because if you don't have the right character and right character and chemistry, you're not going to work with our team. But there's a great book by Henry Cloud called Necessary Endings. And again, if you like to read other book recommendation, you don't get me started on book recommendations because I can go for 2 hours just on that. But Henry Cloud wrote a book called Necessary Endings, and he talked about the importance of being willing to make a necessary ending. There's certain times when you just have to make a change for the good of the organization. And because of our values, sometimes people will say to me, they'll say, well, how could you let Sam go? I thought you cared about people. And we do care about people, and I do care about Sam, but I also care about the other 2,000. And if we tolerate Sam, who's an underperformer, then we're caring about him, but we're not caring about everybody else. It's either got to pull the load or it's getting impacted by his underperformance. So it's really tough. I usually wait too long, but I'm always willing to do it when I have to, and make that necessary ending.
That's all good advice. One thing I wanted to talk about is, one of Correct Craft's kind of sayings is building boats to the glory of God. I've read that frequently from you. And can you talk about what that actually means to the company and to the people that work with you?
So our founder, W.C. Maloon, 100 years ago this year, 1925, started our company with the missions of building boats to the glory of God. He was a man of strong faith. And we've kept that for 100 years. We're not a church, we're not a cult, but the values that flow out of that in terms of integrity and how we treat people are still very important to us. You don't have to be any particular faith or any faith to work with us. We don't ask people what their faith is. That's not something that we discuss, but those values are still important to us. W.C. Maloon's mission of building boats to the glory of God are still important to us. I'm a person of faith, so certainly I can embrace that. But we also, there's no nobody's uncomfortable in the company. There's there's nobody that we don't put any kind of pressure for anybody to do anything, but that is, W.C. Maloon founded the company with that, and we continue to embrace it.
So I would assume that somebody that, an employee that might work for your company that may not be a person of faith can feel comfortable in the principles, not necessarily the faith end of that. Is that right?
100%. And I've had people similar with the service trip. I've had many people over the years as I visit our facilities around the country that have come up to me and said something along the lines of, I don't really understand the whole, I'm not a person of faith, but I want you to know that I love the fact that you care about us and you care about our communities and that we're using our platform for good. But faith isn't a requirement in any way
Yeah.
to work at Reich.
I hate to keep drawing attention back to Steve Jobs, but one thing he always talked about is, his most important job was finding people that are talented and keeping them at the company doing the best work of their lives. And that always resonated with me. How do you do that at Correct Craft?
Clarity, trying to provide clarity about those 5 things that I mentioned before, trying to affirm behavior in the right direction. I'm very, very fortunate. Several of them are here. I see Zach, Thomas, Angela is one that's not here. Our Correct Craft executive team, they've all been with us at least 10 years. The people that work closest to me have been there a long time. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, very, very thankful for that. But we try to provide a lot of clarity around what's important to us. And we want to inspire people. We do dozens of projects a year in our local communities and build houses for Habitat for Humanity and we just took 100 employees to Little Mountain, South Carolina, and worked with a group there that's got a facility for special needs kids. And so we want to use our platform for good. And one of the things that I say often our team hears me talk about is the concept of choose impact. A lot of people go into their careers and they're chasing rewards. They want more money. They want a bigger bonus. They want nicer car, better vacation. There's nothing the matter with any of those things. But if that's your mindset, if you go into your career with your mindset that you're chasing rewards, you get on what's called the hedonic treadmill. And it just wears you out and you end up with broken relationships and never being satisfied. If you go into your career and you're chasing impact, you end up having a big impact on your company, the people around you, your communities. But this is the really cool part. If you're chasing impact, you still get the rewards that the rewards-focused person is chasing. And the reason is that people want impact-focused individuals on their team. So you don't lose out on the rewards, but it's not your focus. Mm-hmm. So listen, I don't want to hold myself up as an example for anything, but I can tell you that my career, I've been very impact-focused. How do I impact our team? How do I impact our communities? Mm-hmm. And yes, I've been rewarded, and I'm thankful for that, but I've never made a decision ever based on money or how it was going to impact my bonus or any of those things. I want to chase impact. And when you do that, the rewards take care of themselves. But it's a mindset. If you can make that flip in your mind, it's such a game changer because you get off that hedonic treadmill and you're really feeling good about what you're doing.
So I think I'll wrap things up here. I got an email or press release from you or one of your people a couple months ago, and it said that you were planning to retire in 2026. And the first thing that came to my mind was, yeah, right.
A lot of people have said that.
Tell us what you think your, I know you're still going to be on the board and advising and doing things like that, but what's your vision for, going into retirement and the things you'd like to do?
A lot of people have asked me, why are you stepping down as CEO? And I'm stepping down next April and or March 31st, actually. And it just feels like the right time for our business. It's the right time for me personally. I'm not using the retirement word, Gary, because I plan to be involved with stuff. I can never just sort of, sit around. But I think it's the right time for me. I want to stay busy, but I don't know that I want to stay $1 billion CEO busy.
Right.
You know, so it's, so we've been thinking about this for, years. The board and I have a CEO, we had a multi-year preparation process to prepare, our team. We've tried to do all the hard things, get that out of the way, so the next CEO just focuses on growth. And we looked at, it was really important to me to have internal candidates. We looked at internal candidates and selected Zach Hutchinson. Zach's right down here on the front row. And so Zach will be stepping into that role next April. I'm on the board now, but I'm going to transition to board chairman. I will be involved, but I'm going to be out of Zach's hair. I'm going to let him do his job. I've told Zach, don't worry, if I wanted to stay in charge, I wouldn't be stepping down. So Zach and the team are really well prepared. I think our organization, I think we've done the hard things. And so I'm just looking forward to having a front row seat to, a lot of growth and them doing a lot of great things. And I'll be there to help as much as they want. And if they don't want, that's fine. I'll do whatever they need. So for me personally, I'm involved in a couple of boards. I'll stay involved in that. I've been to 110 countries and it's just over the last 40 years. So I'm not necessarily looking to travel, but maybe a little bit. But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be an exciting time.
Well, selfishly, I hope that occasionally you won't mind sending us a column and tell us a little bit about the retirement life. And
I'm gonna have a lot of free time, so you might be getting 2 or 3 a week.
I'd be totally fine with that. But I certainly wish you the very best in your retirement. It's been a real joy working with you in the limited work that we do together. And ladies and gentlemen, Bill Yeargin.
Thank you, Gary.